Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
Hello, and welcome to another Wednesday night edition of the Let's Get Uncomfortable show with Aaron and me, Wende. We have a lot to share with you today, and Reverend Attorney will be joining us shortly. And we'll be continuing with our show, Are We Better Together? Are we better together? Maybe, maybe not. More about Are We Better Together on the Let's Get Uncomfortable show in just a few minutes after these commercials.
In which we're doing this documentary for Douglas Robinson, Your Death Will Not Be in Vain.
He was a heck of a great dude.
And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
Master Force with Mushin Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
What's up, guys? It's Osada, the host of the Gathering of the Griots podcast, part of the Female Solution. Want you to join us every Tuesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And guess what we do? We interview authors of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. The books, the experiences, the lifestyles, all of it with fervor. So be there right on the Soulful Chicago Book Fair YouTube page or on the Female Solution Facebook page. We look forward to having you and all our literary essence. Peace.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
Welcome back, audience, on Wednesday, and welcome, Reverend Attorney Aaron McLeod. I'm Wendy Williams. This is Aaron, and this is the Let's Get Uncomfortable show. If you're just now checking in, tune in with us every first and third Wednesdays, right here at 7 o'clock p.m. to 8 p.m. Yes, our show is the show we call the Let's Get Uncomfortable show because we believe more than often we're talking about subjects that will make you uncomfortable. There are some of the subjects that make even me uncomfortable. Isn't that right, Rev?
That is so true. That is so true, my dear sister. It's so good to see you on today. And more specifically, it's a personal treat for me to be with you on today. Why? Because today is my birthday.
Hey, happy birthday to you. That's about as much as I can sing without getting in the copyright trouble. So many returns of your birthday, dear brother. And this is a time that we are hoping that we get many returns. There are lots been happening in the news, current events. And we just pray that we all survive all this and you see many returns of your birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear sister.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we had decided to maybe just cover Are You Better Together in one episode, but we've decided to cover this topic probably maybe for a couple of more weeks, which might put us right there at Valentine's Day. I can't be sure about that, but it might put us right at Valentine's Day. Are we better together? Better we make that decision up front. You know, what I like about our producer, Naima Latif, she really does a lot in terms of pulling together very homogeneous, if you will, topics. And I'm so happy with that opening that we see so many of our sisters discovering and talking about the spiritual and how to hold on, and some political issues with regard to homeless, the mentally ill, education. But here on this show, we would like to share basically the basic premise is how to avoid really finding yourself caught up in the system. Finding yourself caught up in the system. And one of those ways that we have discovered is that are we choosing people and situations in which we will be better together, or should those situations be avoided? And so we selected a topic that we wanted to work with. It would include business relationships, intimate romantic relationships, even friendships, sort, and any other business relationship that you can think of, even a relationship with the members of certain organizations that you may join. Are you better together? And if being better together is very important, then let's see if we can help you get somewhat comfortable with an uncomfortable situation, which is maybe we don't get along, but maybe we have to because there's children involved, there's mortgages, there's debts, there's liabilities, there's even fun. One of the funniest stories I ever heard was that a guy said, I've got to stay with my wife because she's one of the best dancers in the city of Chicago. If he made people step in, that was important to him. And sometimes it's those little things that keep a relationship together. It really means a lot to that person. So, what is the meaning of a relationship? What does it involve? Well, I'll tell you this, and Rev knows how I feel about this. There are 4 things that you have to clear and make sure that you can get past those 4 things so that you can get to the other side of that relationship. And as I always say, you've got to look at criminal activity in a family that you want to merge into. You have to look at where the mental illness is, especially if you're having children, because that can come through the gene pool. You have to take a look at addictions, holics. Are you dealing with drugs? Are they dealing with gambling, the softer addictions, shopping? All those things could have an impact on a relationship. And of course, my all-time, please pay attention to violence, whether a family is plagued with victims or perpetrators. And for those of you who've been listening to me over the months and years, when I did the daytime segment of this show, we have to pay attention to the fact that sometimes victims untreated can become perpetrators. Yeah, that's a reality. Haven't we seen that a lot, Rev, in the courtroom, especially in probate matters? Boy, come out in probate. And I think there's more county sheriffs on the floors with family law issues, probate, than there are with the criminal cases. I noticed that, and I thought that was a shocking reality because they'll fight in the hallways. So we want to remind you guys, don't pass up that skeleton of those 4 things, because everything else we say today on the show, well, we might have you uncomfortable because, you know, your relationship is not prepared. It has not gotten to that foundational level. Now, I always say this, and it doesn't mean it's right, but sometimes people have compatible problems. Your problem with drugs may be just the problem that your significant other wants to deal with. Your fear of being a victim may be just the problem that your significant other or other person entering a relationship with you wants to deal with. It's very bizarre. I cannot doubt that. I can't even get involved with that, because if it's compatible, then as Russell Simmons once said, do you? But when it becomes difficult to continue in that pattern, make sure you have a getaway plan and an escape plan to get out of that relationship. Doesn't that feel uncomfortable? It sure does. And I think I missed the fourth one, and that was mental illness. So there's criminal activity, there's mental illness, there's victims or perpetrators, and there's addicts and holics. Those are always the four. Over 32 years of legal experience, that's what I have found. And good evening out there to those who are tapping in, and we're happy to see that you're coming on and checking in with us, and you don't mind getting uncomfortable, because that's what this is. We got the other shows to make you feel comfortable. Zelda Speaks and some of the other ones make you feel comfortable. We're gonna spin you into Zelda. You're gonna need Zelda after you listen to this. After you listen to this show. All right. So remember, we're two lawyers who like to talk about actually what we have experienced and what you can do to avoid finding yourself caught up in the legal system. So, Rev, where do we start with letting them get uncomfortable?
I'll tell you, I think that Cody Cortez was on social media this morning, and she began to talk about boundaries. And for her to be such a young person, she's very intentional about how she facilitates or curates a positive relationship with her spouse. And she said something to the fact that she never goes and tries to demean or to throw low blows in public about her spouse, because that gives permission to other people to undermine or to think ill, even if they don't say or do anything that's disrespectful, but they begin to look at the partner in a different manner. And so in essence, these rules of engagement, these boundaries become key. Boundaries cannot be foreign when we are living and working in concert with one another. Boundaries amongst siblings, boundaries amongst family members, cousins, boundaries amongst different family members, aunts and uncles, without there being limitations as far as how we, or rules of engagement, or how we interact with one another, we're doomed for failure.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then, unfortunately, what I have found is that many people want to fix, if you will, their partner, fix them going into the marriage or the relationship to fit into the compartment that they want this other person to fit into. They're also looking sometimes to find somebody who can help them get through some of their issues. We talked about that just earlier, compatible problems. I have this problem. Are you compatible with this problem? And oftentimes it's not expressed. Sometimes it is expressed. I've seen male social workers marry one of their clients because that person felt he could feel that need, and he wanted to feel that need. And they had a very successful relationship. People who are in politics, who are in social activism, they back that person up. Some of the other parts of the relationship might fail, but this is the part that keeps them together. So that's a consideration. And then, as I always suggested, is the person fit to be in a relationship? It's kind of like a takeoff of, are you better together? And those four things that I mentioned, they won't get in the way if you are compatible with those issues. But if you're not compatible with those issues, then you may want to take the next step to see how are you managing that. And when I say you, I'm talking to the person who is aware that these could be issues for them. However, they can get through this relationship if the other person recognizes that those issues of criminality, mental illness, victim/perpetrator, alcoholics, addicts, or holics of any type, soft and hard, is my issue, and I won't let it affect our relationship. I think that's what you were talking about, Red, when you're saying put up the appropriate guardrails. That's what it'll look like to me.
Yeah, and in addition to the guardrails, I think there's also expectations, right? So let me pose a question to you. I was listening to this thought leader on social media, African American gentleman, and to be honest, I was most proud of his discipline. High net worth owner, not that that's the value assessment, business leader, but he talked about how he loved and he cherished his wife. And as a result of his love and admiration for her, he wants to do everything with her. So she runs a portion of their enterprise, which dealt with real estate transactions. And they are active participants in raising their child, and they don't want to miss out with time together. Now, as great and as utopian as that seems or may seem, is it too much or is it too little to regard or demand that your partner, particularly in intimate relationships or even in friendships, be everything to you, or that it be holistically compatible? Or are we just dealing with, are we being unrealistic? Or are we trying to find somebody who we are, not necessarily fully compatible with, but somebody we can get along with and make it with? And that person doesn't have to be everything, and what they're lacking, you might be able to find outside a relationship.
Well, my opinion is all those things have to be discussed up front.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to start with the premise of know thyself and to thine own self be true.
Mm-hmm.
If you know yourself and you're willing to be true to yourself, then part of it has to be not expecting the other person to read your mind. So I suggest in the first 90 days to 6 months of a relationship, I'm going to put some math in here. The first 90 days to 60 months should be a discovery process. What do you like? For me, I have a level of self-sufficiency with regard to what I'm doing to take care of myself. But what I don't have, and what I love to have, is a social life with my partner. I would like for that person to be compatible with my activities. Do you like to roller skate? Do you like going to museums? Mm-hmm. Do you like flying to different countries and looking at historical, museums, artifacts? Are you a foodie? Do you like going to plays? To me, that's the critical time, because at this point in my life, I know myself, and frankly, I can pretty much take care of myself, plus or minus a few months in the year. Much I take care of myself, and one of these days I'll be able to say very comfortably that I always take care of myself, and I'm going to take care of myself even when the going is tough. But do you make me laugh? Do I make you laugh? I can tell you some of the things I did. I guess we need more of a romantic show episode. But there are some things that you do to make your spouse laugh. Like I'd play dress up sometime. I may dress up like I don't know who's out there you might want to dress up with. Tina Turner was my favorite and still is. And I may dance around the room and I want somebody in my life who can appreciate that. And I have had that in my life. Thank God. I know what that's like. It took 2 marriages, but I was able to get that. And then after those 2 marriages, I was able to better select because I paid attention and I didn't let myself kind of dream sequence the first 60 to 90 days to a year. So here we got a question. Parents used to be critical about who came to marry their children. That's right. and kept a watch on them as part of the family. That's right. And during that time period, the author of this text to us, I need to tell you, that's when things were a little monolithic and homogeneous. Today, it's going to be a little crazy. But anyway, now there's no guardrails for relationships for men and women to feel confident to engage in, and failure is imminent. Yes, for more than one reason, and partly because no one knows this person that's coming to the house. There was a time when you knew Johnny, or you knew little Mary, and you knew her parents. You were at the same church. The kids didn't wander too much out of the neighborhood, or they lived in small towns. But now a girl from the south suburb can come to the west side and run into one of the most horrific relationships she'll ever have, and might end up in jail and on drugs. And this is real talk here. You're a well kept, and your parents have you groomed and on a path, and you take one trip downtown and you meet Boogaloo, and it's all over for you. Okay. So no, we have to find a way to protect our children. So the same person is saying, how do we protect our children seeking to marry someone who makes us uncomfortable? Well, first of all, that's a problem in and of itself, that the child is seeking someone to make you feel uncomfortable. And that's what I was talking about earlier. There was a time when the child would choose someone that you knew, okay? But these days, how did the child get from, here's what I want to know. How did my child get from the south side, south suburbs, all the way to the west side? That's what I. Now, I'll tell you what I've heard from real smart parents. She was a lawyer and a social worker. She said she went everywhere her child went. These were two boys. And I took from that, when I was raising my boy and girl, I would give parties at my house and tell them to invite their friends. And I would have a nice little pad at the front door, put down your name, your phone number, and we'll make sure you get invited to the next party.
Well, Mr.
But
Turner,
that list was really designed to know where my kid might be. Okay, are you on the west? You live on the west side. What are you doing out here in the south suburb at this party? And who is
we about to have some Chicago geography warfare. But before we get into that, we need to come back to that. Let's take a quick break, Mr. Attorney, but we're coming right back to that. Coming right back to this. You're here on Let's Get Uncomfortable with Aaron and Wendy, Mr. Attorney and Reverend Attorney. We love you. Come on back here after we hear from our sponsors.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I
I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
All right, we're back. Ms. Attorney, let's go back to this question that you were unpacking about your children being attracted or trying to get with people who make you feel uncomfortable when they're trying to build these meaningful partnerships, particularly intimate relationships, maybe friends. Let's go back to that and what you recommend or what you've done. What's the story behind that? What's your philosophy behind that?
Some real practical things. That was one thing that my girlfriend used. And as an attorney, once upon a time, a young attorney, I actually went to a gang initiation. And that was an interesting experience because I was like, this is all wrong. The way they were going about it, the beatings each other and see if they could take the beatings. I really didn't like that. And but they had a lot of respect for me. In fact, those young men that escaped prison or successfully made it out of prison and successfully have improved their lives, they kind of appreciated that about me. And it's very interesting. I'm gonna answer this question. Give me a moment to kind of get to that.
I mean, don't rush. Take your time.
So what happens, I'm thinking, is that the kids want to know that you care. So even though it looks a little overbearing, you can get through that. You can do it without it looking overbearing. Like I said, sign in here. If you don't sign in, you're not going to make the next birthday party. And wasn't this one great afterwards? And you can also get a look. Now, what that social worker / lawyer did, because she was a social worker and a lawyer, she would, if her kids weren't answering their phones or they couldn't be found, she showed up at the homes that were on the list. She showed up at those places. Hi. And after a while, those up to no good said, hey guys, you can't come over here anymore because your mama keeps showing up. And actually, I wish my mama would show up and look for me. She's not looking for me. You see? Now, this person says, well, is transportation not a problem? And most have cars now. That's right. But you still have the list. Or you can still, invite them to have lunch with you guys. You can stop at a Burger King or something like that. Here, bottom line, figure it out how to get to know who your kids are running around with. And if you come to that place in life where you're just unlucky, then what are you going to do after that? Now, there was a time where there was enough money in the family, you would send the kids away. How about the kid ended up in Mississippi for the summer? That was the end of the West Side guy, okay? Because he couldn't catch up with her. Now today, he may be able to catch up with her. I doubt if he's going to get on a train and travel down to Louisiana, Arkansas, or places of that nature. But the most important thing is this. Why doesn't your child share these things with you? Let's go back to you. What's going on? Do you sit down with your daughter and son and say, who is she and what is she like? The little girls were knocking on my door to see my son. And I got a chance to get a kind of a field of vision on who he was going out with and playing with. And the girls are generally easier to catch up with because you can invite them in. You want to come in, you want a soft drink, or where do you live and where do you go to school? I mean, we have to pry. These are your kids now. Now, I always tell parents, do you want to spend the bond money or do you want to spend it on tuition? And you can pay me. I'll take it all. I'll take all that tuition money. But if you want to keep me in the poorhouse, Find a way to get to know what your kids are doing, really. And watch out for those slumber parties. Let's get uncomfortable. I've seen a slumber party where all the little girls got raped by the older brother's friends because there was no one chaperoning those slumber parties. That's another thing that you can do. You have to make sure you're chaperoning. Create those things. I mean, I've seen people get creative with weddings and what's the other things? Weddings and bridal showers and let's go to Dubai and get married. Come on. You got to be able to figure out how to outsmart your child. I mean, at least to the point that when he or she really screws up, you can say, hey, these are all the things I asked you not to do. These are all the things I did to prevent you from being here reasonably. Do you really expect me now to shuffle out the mortgage money, the car note money, or the other kids' tuition money to bond you out of jail? The answer should be a resounding no. And so early on, you should really be monitoring your children's behavior as much as you possibly can. It's a chore. Quite frankly, the experts are saying now, work during your pregnancy, have your child, be at home with the child up to 6 years old, and from 6 years old to 18, when they start school, you're at home. So that means you're not getting your nails done. You're not getting your hair done. You're not getting lashes put. Now, I do say stay in the gym, okay? We got to stay in the gym. We got to keep teeth, during that time. And you got to make sure your skin is in great shape because I can attest to the fact there's life after 50. Okay, there's life after menopause, not all over. Okay. So that's what needs to be done. You're going to need to get a strategy and a plan to outwit someone you gave birth to. And it's not easy. And let me tell you, I made a lot of mistakes. Raising mine, but I did some things right. And at least I was able to keep my kids out of jail.
And so I think that Ms. Attorney will be back with us here in a quick second, technical difficulties. But within that, the insight that she was sharing, I think was spot on. I think we don't do our children, or we do our children a disservice by not really exploring who they are and what it is that they like and what it is that they're attracted to. Really asking questions and spending time with them to understand the things or the issues that they're trying to overcome. For example, this whole notion of colorism and, even being labeled as color struck. I know growing up in the South and being regarded as a darker person, the whole notion of who I was attracted to, quite honestly, was the opposite of how I was teased. And so this notion of really trying to unpack the proclivities of what you're attracted to or what your children are attracted to, there's a rhyme or a reason behind that. And I'm just using that as one example. But when we talk about peers and associates, the unfortunate part is that a lot of times we have to use, and forgive the adage for all the legitimate clinicians here, reverse psychology. You can't go and tell your child to do something. More than likely, for some odd reason, it would be their proclivity to go and do the thing that you tell them not to do. However, the way in which you get into their mind and direct them in the path that you will go sometimes takes strategy, it takes creativity, and really understanding who they are and what they are and what their propensities are to understand or to drive them in the direction that they would go. I know with me, I was somewhat timid, and with that, I would get in situations, and the things that my parents I knew didn't want me to do, or certain trouble I did not want to get in, I feared not only my parents, but the consequences of my actions, because I knew that if I did something that was of ill repute or that was wrong, my parents were going to make me suffer the consequences accordingly. And so I veered from certain realities, if you will, or from certain behaviors or endeavors, because I did not want to suffer the consequences. I did not want to deal with the realities that my behavior might have me result in. And so to that end, knowing what those the proclivities of your children, I think, becomes a huge advantage. Also, this whole notion of do this or comply because I said so. I think historically in our community, we undermine that, we are rational beings. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that I was disciplined as a child. And quite honestly, not that I was ever trying to outsmart my parents, but I felt that there were certain instances where they undermined my ability to reason, or the lack thereof. But to converse and to explain and to provide context would have really, really, really assisted me in making choices or learning from my errors, versus doing something, receiving a punishment without explanation, because it doesn't allow you to process. It doesn't allow you to make meaning of what it is that you have going on, or what it is that you've done wrong. And so the whole notion that we have to be pugilistic with our children or beat them to understand, versus reasoning with them. That doesn't mean that you're your child's friend or that they're your equal. But if we don't begin to engage our children critically, or to help them to begin to reason or develop their critical thinking or reasoning skills, and not putting that off on their teachers or an educational institution, we'll find that our children will be underdeveloped, that they will not make good choices because we haven't challenged them to make good choices, that they will begin to process and discern because we have not engaged them in discernment. And so I think that our dear sister brings up a good point. And Sabina Cinnabella, I love that name, Cinnabella Gill, will come and address your comment where she says, my mom was all in my business and I was all as I was with mine, but that didn't keep them or me from walking a mile to see a boy. And yes, things happen and they didn't expect. Correct. Understood. But we're going to come back and unpack that here after we go to our last commercial break.
Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to take a breath. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool. teaches him to have a rest. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool, teaches him to do his best. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool, teaches him to ace his test. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool, teaches him to trust himself. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool, teaches him to choose good food. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool, teaches him to see his best. Mommy teaches the young ninja, teaches him to be cool. Mommy teaches the young ninja.
All right, we are back. Miss Attorney. Can you hear us, Miss Attorney?
I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
You can hear me? Can you cut your microphone on?
I still can't hear you.
You can't hear? Okay. She'll be coming back with us in 1 second. And, to be inquisitive about what our children are doing does speak volumes about our care and our concern for our children, but they must be monitored. We forget that our children have undeveloped minds, and they must be monitored, because they will, if left up to their own devices, they will make immature decisions. And so we've been there. And the same things that our parents that we were trying to get into, our parents got into. So there's nothing new up under the sun. Still again, Sabella say, I like that. Dealing with your parents can be a deterrent. I was not crossing mine. Yes, I wasn't crossing mine either. I was not crossing mine either. And my mother, for some odd reason, took pride in trying to embarrass me in public. And so I tried my best to be on my best behavior, because I wanted to be a reflection of my family and the expectations that they had. But when we talk about associations, in particular partnerships, one thing I will say that I wish my parents would have done differently is they really set boundaries as far as making sure that I was associated with good people, in particular my male peers. However, on the dating scene, or the dating end, that was somewhat taboo, to be quite honest with you. This whole notion of being in a relationship at a early age, a teenager, I had to be 14, 15, 16 before I could have a girlfriend. And more specifically, I think it was even older for my younger sister. But how to be healthy in a relationship, particularly in your young years, to understand that it's normal to have a friend intimately, or a close platonic friend who is of the opposite sex, or who you're attracted to, and to be in that relationship in a healthful sense. And sometimes we don't navigate that well because we have not been taught to do so. Mr. Attorney, what are your thoughts? Okay. So with that, Simbella is saying, how do we really help them to understand that we have their best interest at heart without losing them? I think, Simbella, the way in which we convey that is to help them understand that, roles, parent, child, I'm guiding, and then also to provide examples. I'll tell you, my father was not very hands-on. He taught his classes, he played his golf, but the times when we were able to bond, it was priceless. One of the things of the values that my mother raised me with were secondary, tertiary to him. I had to go to church because my grandmother and my mother said go to church. But my most fondest memories were going to sporting events with my dad or going out to eat with him, and to have him engage me, especially when he felt that my cognitive ability had reached a level where we could have a conversation. And I would ask questions, and he would begin to engage me where my ability to communicate would not bore him, but we could really have dialogue. And I share that to say is he was an effective communicator, an effective teacher, especially when I could glean the messages that he was trying to convey. I miss him dearly because once I could relate to him and begin to engage and communicate on his level, he was a wealth of knowledge, and I could go to him for advice, much more so as an older person versus a younger person. And arguably, he didn't have the patience to deal with me as a whining young kid. But when I became of age, where I could manage my own self and navigate my own self, he was definitely a fun person to be around. But he could talk and teach. And one of the reasons why I did not abuse drugs early on is because I had a rational conversation with my father about how drug abuse derided certain members of my family. And he was able to convey and make his points and say, don't do this because I said so. You might want to choose not to do this because here are the consequences. Here are the examples. This is what you don't want. This is what you do want. And as a result of the choices you make and the people you hang around, it will make your life more hard, or harder, if you will, based off of those choices. And it wasn't anything that he had to beat into me. I tell you, I can count less than one hand the times that my father had to discipline me physically. It only took a look. It only took a raising of the voice, not even yelling. But I did not want to ever have him be disappointed in me. And there was a reverence that I had for him. But more specifically, I also yearned to be in his company at the time when I could really understand him. And there were times and ebbs and flows where he taught me hard lessons, like the power of overcoming no. Go to my grandmother, get anything. Mother, almost the same. My father would make me figure it out. And I thank him to this day for that ability to figure things out. Yes, Sabella, we do. The Bible talks about, she said, we wanted to show our parents that we honored them. I'll never forget, growing up, particularly when I was a senior in high school, junior, senior high school, driving and having a car to drive, and I felt entitled to that. And my parents did avail a car for me to drive. But my dad had to let me know that I was not privileged, and he didn't want people making concessions or conclusions about me based off of the resources that my parents provided for me. And to a certain extent, I thought one of the short-sighted messages that he missed out on was that the car was not necessarily a convenience or, one whereby I was, trying to put on airs or drive everybody around, but more so it was one of safety. And one of the things that my parents forced me to do begrudgingly was to engage in public transportation. Now, I grew up in a town where the transportation system was nowhere near as sophisticated as it was here in Chicago. So not only was it a chore, but it was ineffective, and at times it was not safe. And so I had to navigate that, but more specifically, I could not understand why he would not want me to have at my disposal reliable transportation. But then I did learn, and even have had lessons today, that what he was trying to do was help me navigate the social spheres of bigotry, of jealousy, where people would do things. You think that they're championing you or, patting you on the back because, you have things that they emulate or that they admire. But the jealousy really, quite honestly, fuels evil, and is as detrimental as other vices where people want to size you up because you're not like them, if you don't fit or you stand out. And so, we have to figure out ways in which we navigate that accordingly. Miss Attorney, holla if you hear me. Can't hear still?
Ah!
I can hear you now. Can you hear us now?
I know you can. I give up. The 7 o'clock hour for this show must be a bewitching hour for me. There's no cats tonight. There's no family members tonight. And still, there must be a gremlin in this laptop because I'm on the phone now. And God only knows how long this is going to last.
Well, give us the last comments. We have
one of the things is we have to start with our children real early. I did. And I was able to avoid a couple of things. There was still one major thing that I didn't get control over, but no one's in jail and no one has been injured. So I take that as a win. I would give myself a B-, on some days a C+ as a parent. But we have to seek professional help. One of the listeners was saying, how do I do this and how do I do that? You may need professional assistance with this. Try not to do it all yourself. I had a lot of help. My religious environment was very helpful. The way I was raised was very helpful. And I went to Catholic school, so I was afraid of everybody. I didn't want to mix and mingle. I didn't learn how bad life was until I became a criminal defense attorney. So, otherwise I had on blinders, uniforms. I went straight to school. I came right back, and that was it. So it's 8 o'clock. We'll see you the next time.
All right. Until the next time.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jareh. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur.
Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.